Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Welcome to the town of Greenburgh, where we're here to cut a ribbon on a long-awaited project, an affordable housing project that's going to serve people in need. And it has been a little while in the making, but with the help of all these people who are with us here, and you're going to hear from a lot of them, particularly Mark Sodja, who's the developer that worked through all of the different bumps and bruises along the way, we're able to add to our inventory of affordable housing here in Westchester County. Let me recognize the elected officials and top appointed officials, and we'll hear from some of them in some sequence. I'm joined, as I always am, by the Deputy County Executive, Ken Jenkins, who's with us. Ken? From our executive team, the Commissioner of our Planning Department, Norma Drummond, and she lives and dies with these projects every day. And we also have Blanca Lopez from our executive team involved. Blanca, please stand up for your recognition. From the world of elective authority, this would not be possible without the support of the state of New York. And the state of New York doesn't do anything unless the Senate Majority Leader of the state of New York is in agreement. Our friend and the senator for this area, the Honorable Andrea Stewart-Cousins. Almost as powerful in the county legislature is the county legislator for the district, my friend Margaret Kunzio, Minority Leader of the legislature. And we have with us members of the Greenburgh Town Board, also very critical in this process. On the board, council members Francis Sheehan and Gina Jackson, and the supervisor of the town of Greenburgh, Paul Feiner. And you're going to be hearing from Paul in a little bit. We also want to recognize Alfreda Williams, who is Westchester County legislator, also representing Greenburgh and some of the surrounding areas as well. And Alfreda is completing her service at the end of this year after a long career, doing a great job in the county and the town, and we salute her as well as for her role in all of this.
Mary Jane, nicely.
Oh, yes, and Mary Jane Shimsky, also a legislator, represents part of Greenburgh as well, also pivotal in making this happen. She's unable to be with us. She believes she's at the NISAC conference upstate. We're going to have a series of speakers, and you're going to hear from each of these people, but I want to recognize, for an initial round of applause, Mark Sodja, who is the president of Marathon Development Group, and again, the man who lived and died with this project all the way. Mark, congratulations. These things don't happen unless somebody has a vision and a drive, and Mark is that person that's very much a part of this. We appreciate that. And we're also joined by Ron Abad, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Community Housing Innovations. He's going to speak in a few minutes. Ron, we appreciate your leadership in the area of housing. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize his immediate predecessor, Alec Roberts, who headed CHI for many years. Alec, thank you for your leadership on these issues and these areas. So we've talked about this being many years in the making, and this project originally had birth as a site for homeless housing, and at some point in time when that particular writ had run, it fell back to the town of Greenburgh to determine what its next best use would be. And as much as there would be a desire to have affordable housing here, it would take the support of the state of New York and the county of Westchester alongside the town of Greenburgh in order to make all of this happen. The groundbreaking occurred here in 2018. We were a new administration at the county government, but it does tell you just how hard it is to get affordable housing done, because you're not working with a market basis of the people who are going to come in and pay the top dollar. You're working with people in need who are going to be subsidized, and that makes it the financing more difficult. It makes it important for you to look at every dime and how it's going to be spent in the construction, because you want a project that looks as beautiful as this looks, but at the same time can be done within the confines of affordability. All of these things are difficult to do, but that's why the work of Norma Drummond and Mark Sodja, and we'll be joined by Ayanna Weiner in a few minutes from the state. All of those contributions are critical to get to this point. We're proud to say that the County of Westchester is committed to affordable housing. We were happy to cut the ribbon on a 34-unit project in Portchester roughly a month and a half ago. We've got more of these coming, but the most important thing is we're here right now, and here right now is our outstanding state senator, to lead off with her commentary. She's lived through this whole story from the very beginning until today, and she is a major reason why we have the state support we have. The Honorable Andrea Stewart-Cousins, Senate Majority Leader.
Thank you so much, George. It's just so nice to be here with all of my colleagues in government and to really applaud your leadership, George, because clearly this would not have happened without the steadfast hand of a chief executive who is committed to the understanding that affordable housing is necessary. Every strata of the economic ladder needs affordable housing. And we cannot continue to believe that we can keep our kids here, that people can retire here, that people don't need what we have here and ignore the reality. So, George, thank you so very, very much. And of course, to my colleagues on county government, the deputy county executive, and all of my colleagues in county, as well as the town government here. Greenberg has been a great part of my life. I've represented Greenberg since I've been in the Senate, and I know good things happen here again because of the great leadership. And I don't want to ignore Norma, because when I was a county legislator, which I was also that, Norma was, as the county executive said, the heart and soul of these projects. And again, thank you, Mark. And thank you so much, Ron. And, again, I've been to so many of these openings over the years with Mark and with CHI, and welcome, Ron, because there are some people who understand how important it is. And I'm one of those people from a personal level. I will very often say I grew up in public housing. I grew up in public housing during a time where my dad, who was, an Army veteran, Purple Heart, Bronze Star, however, could not take advantage because of the color of his skin of the GI Bill and the availability of housing. So public housing was what we had. And my parents, actually, they lived in housing their entire lives and went to senior housing when it became, a burden. And so to see something like this as affordable senior housing, as opposed to what we know normally looks like affordable senior housing, is really a blessing and a boon. The other thing that I want to say is that so much of the experience that I've had with grandparents raising grandkids, and the fact that when my parents lived in Current Court, which is in Yonkers, there was a grandmother who was raising her grandchild. But because they weren't allowed to do that in public housing, the school bus had to drop the child like a block and a half away. And this grandparent would go like 3 blocks away from where she lived to pick the child up, to bring the child back so that she would not look like she was raising this child in the housing. I understand that these units are big enough to be grandparent, grand family units, and I think that is extraordinary. So congratulations again, and thank you so much for the commitment. Thank you.
And Andrea, thank you again, you and your colleagues in the Assembly and in the Senate, because you fight for budgets that include money to make this happen. This project does not happen without the state's money, and we attribute that to you and your colleagues, and we thank you for that contribution. Next, I'm introducing Mark Sodja, who is president of Marathon Development. I've sort of alluded to it, but I think you all know this from anything in your own personal life. When you get to the finishing point of a project, there's a certain happiness, and everybody takes a little bit of credit. But there's one person who sweats out all the details. There's one person probably sitting up in that office or his office elsewhere where he's by himself at night. And he's sitting there trying to figure out how to make some element of this thing work. It might be an engineering element, could have been a design element. It might be whether the suppliers of a particular product are going to get it here in time to utilize the workers so that there's an efficiency in cost and spending. Sometimes it can be dealing with us difficult politicians and figuring out how to get the official support. All of those things should turn a man's hair gray. But the fact that he is not fully gray tells you that he's still in charge of the details, and his vision drove through to get us to this day. Mark Sodja, president of Marathon Development. Mark?
Thank you, George, for your kind words, your introduction, your commitment to fair and affordable housing in Westchester County, and for your support of this project. I got to turn and thank you because it took a long time for us to get here. I want to very briefly thank the people who helped us get to this ribbon cutting, describe some of the improvements that made at the property, and go on to the next person. The first person I have to thank is the county executive. Now, we won the RFP back in 2013. This property, we fought a long time, a long way, worked with the town board, the town council, but we languished. George was elected, telephoned me within the month, said, Mark, what's it going to take to make this transaction close? What could I do to help you get there? And seemingly, in no time at all, we're before the state with J.P. Morgan Chase, our construction lender, HFA, working forward to get the transaction to happen. We reached out to our not-for-profit service provider, which is CHI. Then it was Alec Roberts, now it's Ron, who met with us at the state, brought along the Office of Mental Health, who provided additional subsidy dollars to help make the transaction feasible and fund it and make it happen. Coming down to working down the scale. Actually, Andrew Stewart Cousins, thank you so much. I should have mentioned you sooner because your commitment to affordable housing, HFA, fair and affordable housing, has been instrumental to us. You come to all our events, you support all of our projects, and thank you very much. Thank you. The county board was instrumental in helping us get there. The town council, thank you so much for choosing us as winner of the RFP, the developers of this project. Come down without you. And Norma Drummond, who is the one behind it all, makes everything happen, knows all the details, and say, how about this? Why don't you try that? Help us get there and make it all happen. And finally, the construction crew, who we closed in October. I think quarantine happened in March. So despite the quarantine, the staged services, the inability to find materials and supplies and costs escalating tremendously, they were here on board, brought the project in pretty close to on time and on budget. Our architects are here. Thank you so much for your design. It looks beautiful. Thank you all. I wanted to briefly talk about some of the improvements we made to the property. As you see from the photographs over there, as we worked through the process, the property languished and was essentially ignored. We came in, didn't make a difference because we redesigned the whole entire site to handle parking, water infiltration, and make it so it could be affordable housing. In terms of the building themselves, as you can see, energy efficiency was a cornerstone of our renovation. You see the solar panels on the administration building. Each of the buildings, moving to the buildings themselves, each of the buildings is LEED certified. I have a hard time with that phrase. Is LEED certified, and we did a complete renovation. From the exterior, put on new roofs, new double-hung, low-E argon glass windows. The perimeters are wrapped in rigid insulation underneath the siding. We had to dig out the foundation to put rigid insulation along the foundation of the building as well to comply with the state's requirements for energy efficiency. Really worked a lot through the process. In the units themselves, we gutted the units down to the studs. Everything inside the apartment is new. We put in PTAC heating and cooling units, a very high efficiency, provide air conditioning as well as heating throughout the units to make very comfortable living accommodations. There's new kitchens, cabinets, soft close cabinet drawers. We have the quartz countertops, Energy Star appliances, low flow fixtures, all really working towards energy efficiency at the property. And I guess a main part of the transaction is we added these what they call connector buildings. They're in between the two residential buildings. They're before us not only community space and office space, but they provided elevators. And that made the second floor apartments handicap accessible for the seniors who live here, which is an important addition we made, and the state HFA stepped up and financed that change order for us, realizing how important it was and a good amenity to the property. Finally, the planting of the property is all native, non-invasive species, so they're all kind of small right now, but in time they'll grow and be beautiful and be non-invasive. We're finishing, can't go look at it yet, but we're finishing a walkway behind the buildings that will be just a nice walking path around the perimeter of the 6-acre site to give seniors here a place to go outside and enjoy their community and get some exercise. All in all, we spent about a little more than $10 million modernizing the property, quality improvements, and we hope that it becomes housing that seniors are proud to call their homes. Thank you so much.
In our government, those of us who are elected at the county level talk in very general policy terms, but it takes people who understand the guts of how government works to actually produce a result. And today is about results more than it is about anything else. And the person that we turn to on issues of housing in this county is Norma Drummond. She has been in the planning department for many years. She's had different positions. When I came in the door, she was deputy commissioner of planning. We asked her if she would step up and become commissioner. She agreed to do it. I don't know if she ran it past her husband, but the bottom line, is she said yes, which meant that she's out at meetings of zoning boards at 8 o'clock at night and still has to travel a fair bit of distance to go home. And she's called upon by the Board of Legislators as well as by the executive branch to know everything at fingertip, and she's exactly that. From project to project, we're working right now in round numbers on about 2,300 units of affordable housing, some of which now are completed, some of which are in various stages of development. But Norma keeps it all straight. She understands the different public financing streams. She knows the people in Albany that she can talk to. She knows the people that she can speak to in the local governments, and she really is the essential linchpin for Westchester County in these projects, this project and the ones to come. Norma Drummond, Commissioner of Planning.
Thank you, George. That was a very kind welcome, but he's not wrong. I started my day this morning, 8:30 in the morning, with the County Planning Board, where we got their recommendation of $5 million of financing to provide 90 units of fair and affordable housing in the city of New Rochelle. So we're on to the next one that will soon go to the Board of Legislators. And I'm going to end my day, 6 o'clock tonight, with the Housing Opportunity Commission talking about all sorts of other housing things. So the County Housing Board so it's not unusual to have, meetings all different times. But I'm going to date myself just a little bit because I have to tell you, I was actually here when this facility opened. All right. Yes, I was here. I was here. I was a county employee at the time, and I was here, and Anthony Veteran and Andy O'Rourke, and what a tremendous idea that we had such a need for homeless housing that we could take the vision of taking our own county land, create a shelter to meet the need at that time, but know at that time, 30 years ago, that we wanted to make this a senior affordable housing. At that time, we expected the homeless problem was going to go away in 10 years. So the original agreement actually called for senior housing to appear, to be here, and we were going to take the 108 shelter units and create 54 senior housing units. So that vision never went away. Obviously homeless housing never went away either. So we needed to keep the homeless shelter operating for another 10 years. But now, 10 years later, we are here delivering on the commitment that the county made 30 years ago to the town of Greenburgh that we would make this affordable senior housing. And through Mark's ability, and yes, many, many conversations at all hours of the afternoons and evenings, et cetera, about how do we deal with this issue or that, he went from that vision of 54 units to making 74 units. And this is just one of the developments that we've worked on together. So it's tremendous to see the change in this. It's tremendous to see it's beautiful, okay, back to what it really should have been and what our original expectation was. But so congratulations to everyone in getting this done. Thank you.
So we've touched on the drive and the vision of the developer. We've touched on the liaison with county government, the linchpin who can pull together disparate elements to make this happen. We've talked about the role in the state to be able to put together the resources to provide for this. And there is also the matter of political will. We can't accomplish anything in a small d democracy unless we know that we've got the support of people, of those who vote and those who live in the area. And many times it doesn't fall to the county executive, but rather to the local legislator. Both Andre and I were county legislators in our day, so was Ken Jenkins. And when you're on the ground, you don't just get emails, you get people right in your face to face. We'll talk about that with the town board in a second. But Margaret Kunzio, as a representative of this area, alongside of Alfreda Williams and Mary Jane Shimsky, was on the firing lines, talked to people in the neighborhood, and helped bring that input into the process so that we could have the political will to accomplish this. Margaret Kunzio.
Thank you very much. I am not going to repeat everyone, but I am going to ride on the coattails of the Senate Majority Leader and say ditto to everyone she thanked, because this truly was a team effort. This would not have happened without everybody working together. And I think that's really the message here, is when you're in government, whatever level it is, it's so important to work together to benefit the community. And this completed project really shows what can happen when we all work together. The Valhalla School District was happy. Mayfair was good to work with. Mark Sodja was great to work with. County government, Norma in planning, the state, the town board, everybody was fantastic. I like that, George, saying that it just involved talking. I think firing lines was more appropriate in some of those discussions, but it was something that we can come here now and see. And for me, to see a completed project, personally, this is the second major completed project in my district to see. And to me, it's very rewarding because things are finally coming together. We are truly working together to make government work and complete these projects. Thank you very much.
And again, we wish that we had both Alfreda Williams and Mary Jane Shimsky here with us as well. They served as colleagues and partners to Margaret in the efforts of the County Board of Legislators. Next, we go to the town level of government, and we look at town government with a great degree of respect. And the town of Greenburgh is the largest by far of the towns of Westchester County, much bigger than anything that's second or third in size. And it's a complicated town. It has villages and has a large unincorporated area. Francis Sheehan, who is here, and Gina Jackson, who is here, Diana Jutner, who is not here, and Ken Jones, who could not be here, all represent part of that decision-making process. But the town supervisor, Paul Feiner, has had this assignment for many, many years, over 30 years. And I met Paul long before that. We were classmates at Fordham University, a few years apart. First time I met him, we were in a lecture hall. And I was a senior, so I was kind of vegging out. I just wanted to get through the class, get my grade, and get on out of there. Paul was a freshman, and he asked a few questions of the professor that day. And I said, who is that guy? That guy turned out to be a county legislator who represented this town with great vigor and energy and became the gold standard for constituent representation by any elected official, and then on to become the chief executive of this town. So, our chief executive for the town of Greenburgh, the Honorable Paul Feiner.
Thank you, and thank you for your leadership in making this happen. When I was a member of the Westchester County Board of Legislators in 1988, we voted for this homeless shelter, the West Help homeless shelter. And I remember at the time we voted that everybody said that the architect who designed this was one of the top architects in the world. So the West Help homeless shelter was, without question, the most attractive, nice homeless shelter anywhere. You know, no place ever could come close to it. So when I heard that this was eventually going to become a senior development, I never anticipated that it would look like this. In fact, you know, we talk about income inequality, and I think a lot of people who are not lower income are probably going to be jealous. Because this is really amazing. It far exceeds what I would have envisioned. You know, you did a spectacular, job. And, you know, again, I'm really thrilled that the town board selected you as the developer. And I'm looking forward to seeing more affordable housing built in Greenburgh. And thanks again. And you should really be, very proud, because this is really, magnificent, and you're going to be giving a lot of seniors a lot of joy, and people are going to be able to retire just feeling great about their life. This facility is within walking distance of the community college. Some of the residents could take classes at the community college. They could audit the classes. They could interact with students. There's intergenerational opportunities. This is really a perfect location, a perfect spot. We have a perfect developer, and I think this is really a model for senior housing. And 20 years from now, I'll make sure I don't make any money, so this way I could apply.
Well, I can speak with similar experience to Paul. We've both been in public office over 30 years, and no, we haven't made any money, Paul.
Mission accomplished.
Maybe we'll get side-by-side units. I don't know. Our next speaker, and we're waiting to see if our representative from New York State Housing and Community Renewal can join us today. But our next speaker is Ron Abad. and he is now the head of Community Housing Innovations. I mentioned previously Alec Robert, who preceded him. And with all this jigsaw puzzle that includes all these different pieces I've talked about, an important piece is the advocacy community. Our administration accepts that and embraces that on any public policy issue, whether it's the environment or criminal justice, you name it, there are people from not-for-profits or just individuals that advocate for certain policies, and they too have a role to play. And the role that they have to play informs us with information, gives us some of the steel in our spine that we need to move forward on these things. And Ron has a great background in this area, aside from his current assignment, and we're very happy that he's here with us in Westchester County. Ron Abad.
Thank you, County Executive Norma. Mark, congratulations. Andrew Stewart Cousins, we grew up the same. I grew up in public housing and Section 8 housing in the Bronx and East Harlem. And I know what low quality is, and I know what quality is. I know what non-affordable housing is, and I know what affordable housing is. And the powerful thing is when visions intersect, right? CHI's vision is to provide housing and human services that support social and economic independence. Our vision is to break generational poverty by ensuring that all families and singles and seniors have a home of their own and a job of their own. CHI believes quality, affordable housing provides a firm foundation for a prosperous life. CHI is pleased to be part of this great partnership between government, Westchester County, New York State Department of Office of Mental Health, and the private developer Mark. It is an intersection of government, not-for-profit, and private industry to come together to do such a quality project as this. And we believe, along with all our community partners and friends, I'd like to extend a thank to Alec Roberts, who I've succeeded, a great leader in our community, to our board. We have members of our board who have been here, and to our staff. We have staff that are representing. Nothing can be done without our staff. Thank you, staff, for all the great work. Thanks to funding from the New York State Office of Mental Health, after an ESHE Empire State Supportive Housing Initiative Award back in 2017, CHI will provide on-site support services with 2 full-time staff from Monday through Saturday. 20 previously unhoused seniors. You know what it is to be a senior and struggling with homelessness after you've lived so many years and served your community. Seniors with disabilities now have a stable, accessible, and safe home among the other seniors who will reside here at the Mayfair. CHI looks forward to building additional partnerships with Norma and other counties throughout the state and the community to support the ongoing needs of residents so that they may live in quality and affordable homes of their own. Thank you. Thank you.
So we had hoped to have been joined by Ayanna Weiner, who is the Downstate Development Director for Housing and Community Renewal. She may yet join us and circulate with us, but I'll just give a couple of closing comments, then we'll get out the ribbon, do the official ribbon cutting. I'm sure it's there somewhere, and usually with a pair of scissors that don't always cut. Will those cut? This is, there's been a lot of folks to speak, and I've tried to give you the framework by which each person spoke. It's not just let's make sure everybody speaks, but each person has a piece of a puzzle, and you need all of those pieces in order for this to happen. This is not a simple project of the state government or the county government where it implements it on its own. It takes all of these pieces to come together, and I wanted you to have a sense of each of those different elements for this to happen. But I came here from 2 other stops that I have just made, along with a couple of my colleagues in government. And we stopped at 2 senior facilities. We stopped at Drew Street in Portchester for a little outdoor barbecue with seniors, and we came from Tarrytown where they had a meeting of 70-some-odd seniors. And, I introduced myself as a fellow senior. I'm 67 on the cusp of 68. And they observed me as a junior senior because I guess now there's seniors and there's really good seniors, which we only find out when we're giving out the vaccines. They cut it off at 75, and then the kids seniors from 65 to 75 vaccines. But, when I talk with seniors, as I talk with any group of people, we all do, all of us in public office do this all the time. You realize that when you get to a certain age in your life, there are certain fears and worries that you have. You don't have those same sets of fears when you're 45. You don't have those same sets of fears when you're 55 or when you're 35. But when you reach a certain age, you worry, will I have the money to survive in the years to come? Will I go without food? What will happen to my children and my grandchildren? What will happen to me? Because let's be honest, it's hard to want to admit to this, you worry about your mortality. How long will I be here? How healthy will I be while I'm here? And one of the things that addresses that fear is to have a good place to live in, a place that provides you comfort and security and safety, that you know is in great condition, and that there are people around you that can be there to help you. That is an important relief of one of the stresses of senior citizen years. And if we could provide that housing for all that need it, those that have the resources to do it, great. For Paul and me and for all of us, we aspire to that. And I would close by a quote that I won't quote exactly correctly, but it's from the book of Matthew. And he said to the Lord, when did you see me naked? When did you see me without food to eat, or imprisoned, or homeless? And the Lord said, whenever you did this for the least of your brothers, you did this for me. Our brothers and sisters will occupy these facilities. Our brothers and sisters. Doesn't matter if the color of the skin is different. Doesn't matter if they worship in a different house of worship. Doesn't matter their gender. Doesn't matter anything. They are brothers and sisters of ours, and we have an obligation. And today, all of these good people have met that obligation. All of them together, working with each of our piece of this puzzle to do exactly what that quote from Matthew says, is we're doing it for our brothers. May we be able to do this time and time again elsewhere in this county, because this county wants to treat our brothers and sisters properly. So thank you for being here, and let's, I guess, roll out the ribbon.